feel great. I am healthy. I don't have brain fog anymore. I don't have trouble with crippling anxiety. I can walk and run. I don't have pain. I don't have, bloating and gas. I'm functioning great. And I'm in the middle of my life and I'm happy to be doing this. I'm not sad that I'm not eating, a lot of junk food or sweets. I broke my addiction to food and I'm living my best life. Okay, so this is the video that everybody wants to know. What's your lab work? I've been eating a carnivore diet for almost 14 months. I've had my labs done every 3 to 6 months, a couple more than that because I do have chronic thyroid deficiency and I have to monitor that pretty regularly to keep up with my thyroid. But when I very first started the carnivore diet, I was doing it as an experiment, as a detox, and I have, a few autoimmune issues that I have lived with for a long time, and I wanted to lose weight, so I found, Mikhaila Peterson and her experience with specifically for her, the Lion Diet, and I thought, well, I'm going to try that. So this is what's happened. My blood work, this is how it's going. I do want you to sit down when I get to the lipid panel because, sit down. Here are some of the results and, I'm not freaked out. I feel better than I have for a long, long time. Like, I don't ever remember feeling this good. So I started eating this way. I thought, what is going to happen to me? What's going to happen to my cholesterol? Is it going to go sky high? I started doing a lot of research to Dr. Berry through, his interview with Mikhaila Peterson. And then that was it. I just started, doing a lot of research, watching all of Dr. Berry's videos, and I joined his community, Proper Human Diet community. And that, I like to have data and I like to have lab work, and I was familiar with lab work because I worked in a lab when I was in my 20s, but like just ordering lab tests and registering patients. I didn't do any of the lab work, and I'm not a phlebotomist, but I was familiar with lab work, and I've always been kind of a data geek, I like that kind of stuff. April or May, I had my first really, like annual lab work, and I based it off of the lab tests that I wanted run. I based it off of Dr. Berry and Kim Howerton's book, Common Sense Labs, because I needed a baseline. I'd really never had, annual checkups with a general practitioner or a health practitioner because I didn't want to go there. I would only go for acute problems, like if it was infection, sinus infections, I used to get a lot of that, or viral, or, specific problems. I didn't go for my general health because they never helped with that. I was never told, that I was pre-diabetic. I was never told, you need to lose weight. I actually wasn't even told, I don't remember ever having a lipid panel done. And that record, I can't find it now because it was 5 years ago, but I did see that at that time when they tested me, my A1C was 6.0. That is pre-diabetic. Again, I was never counseled that I needed to do anything about my diet or lose weight or, manage my blood sugar. I wasn't, nothing. It was just like, oh, okay. No one even told me I was pre-diabetic. So in May of 2023, I went in and had all of the labs and they came out. And the other thing I needed to tell you is I didn't realize, but you do want to fast for a lot of those labs. But I'm an extreme person, so I was like, oh, more fasting is better. So at that time, I fasted for like 20 hours. Okay, you don't want to fast for that long. Really, you should fast for 12 to 14 hours. So I don't think it skewed my results that much. What you're looking for metabolic health is there are 5 markers, right? So the first one that you can measure at home is your height to waist circumference. I don't know what mine was before, but I know I was over 0.5. You want to be 0.5 or under. Next one is high HDL, low triglycerides. So you want low triglycerides, higher HDL, the good cholesterol. Another marker for if you are metabolically healthy or not is blood pressure. I have never had trouble with any kind of blood pressure. I always run low. I always have. So that's great. So I did not, I know that I did not have problems with that in January of 2023. Blood sugar regulation. The most popular, if you can get your, doctor, nurse practitioner to run it, is an hemoglobin A1C. It's an average of your blood sugar regulation over a 3-month period. 5.7 to 6.4 is considered pre-diabetic. I'm looking at the range right here for LabCorp. May of 2023, like I said, I got all of the lab tests. My A1C is 5.5. I also got my labs done, some labs done in August, and my A1C at that time was 5.4. Then in November, I had more lab work, A1C 5.5, and then January, the end of January, I had lab work done 5.5. So I am, pretty stable at 5.5. The other thing I had done in May of last year and then in January of this year was I had my fasting insulin tested. And in May of 2023, it was 4.7, which that's great. Now it's 6.1. So I don't know why it's a little bit higher. It doesn't matter. I don't want my lab results to affect my behavior because I don't, I'm not going to start adding in carbs because my, fasting insulin was higher. Maybe it was because of the way I fasted so many hours in May. And then this time I only fasted, 13 and a half to 14 hours. So, but it doesn't matter. 6.1 is great. Another test that I had done about every 3 months starting in May was a complete metabolic panel that tests your electrolyte ratios, or not ratios, but some electrolytes, liver function, and kidney function. So I was really interested in the kidney function aspect because you hear a lot about, high protein causes kidney issues. And in May, my complete metabolic panel I was optimal. So I'd been eating a carnivore diet at that point for 4 months. And again, my fasting glucose at the time of that one was 75. That was great. My BUN, my creatinine, my EGFR, all very, within range, optimal range. My EGFR specifically was 104. Sodium, potassium, everything was great within range. I didn't have any flags. I've never had any flags on any of these. So my AST and ALT, which are liver functions, they're 19, 27, that kind of thing. So nothing too low and nothing too high. I didn't have any inflammatory markers that were elevated. I was having trouble with my thyroid at that point. My hormone replacement was way, way, way too low. And my TSH was 14.9. So that's nothing. It wasn't functioning. The replacement wasn't doing anything. It wasn't replacing anything. And so I had some, I had some side effects of that, but that's why I was having my lab work done. I wish I had been testing my lab work for my thyroid every 2 to 3, really every 3 weeks, because my dose was just so low, and it ended up being really, really low for 6 months. And, that did cause some side effects. I shed a half of my hair. I shed a ton of my hair. And I was having a lot of itchy skin, that kind of thing, like a skin crawling thing. And that is related to hormones, to thyroid function. I had my zinc tested and it was well within, range. I had a homocysteine, which is an inflammation marker, I believe, and it was 10. So I had a GGT. I had a GGT in May, and in May it was 6. That's great. The high end of that is 60. GGT has something to do with blood sugar management and, your response to blood sugar regulation, I think. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nurse practitioner. I'm just, I just want to get information for myself to be an expert on me and what I can eat and what I can tolerate. So My ferritin was 91. I had a SED rate of 8. I don't know what SED rate really means. I had a CBC. Nothing came up on a complete blood count. Nothing was out of whack at all. I did end up having, I wanted to find out at the time if I had any response to like allergens like shrimp, avocado, and citrus. I'd had like this inflammatory response, and I thought, am I sensitive to it? And I don't have any, I really don't have food allergies. That was just some information I wanted. I don't know how reliable those are. I do know that I do have food sensitivities. It's probably based on like, my unique makeup. In May of 2023, my sex hormones were doing really well. My female hormones were doing really well. And I was, not having any kind of issues with that. My testosterone was great. My DHEA was great, which is, I think it's a building block of, something about hormones. I don't even really know. I just wanted to get a bunch of lab work and see if anything showed up. And nothing was out of whack except my lipid panel. So in May, I did have my lipids done. And again, I had fasted for like 20 hours or like a really long time. And it was high. So we'll start with total cholesterol. All right, sit down. It was 379. I knew that I didn't need to be concerned about it, but that's disconcerting because I was only 4 months in to this new lifestyle. I was still dealing with, how to, change and shift into my lifestyle. So 379. My triglycerides were 78. That's really good. And my HDL was 66. There's also a ratio you can do, and I think you divide, I can't remember if it's triglyceride, I can't remember, but look it up, HDL triglyceride ratio. And, that was good. It was a good ratio. You want to be, I think, under optimal is under 1.5. I'm not sure. Again, it didn't really matter. But my nurse practitioner was kind of freaked out. And it even said, so because my LDL was 302, my total cholesterol was 379. And again, my triglycerides were 78, HDL was 66. But those are really good. What it allowed me to have is for my nurse practitioner to order a calcium artery CT scan, a CAC. And so I did end up having that in August. But what I wanted to tell you was, again, in November, so about 3 months later-ish, I had my lipid panel done again. And at that time, I knew not to fast for more than 14 hours. And interestingly, my total cholesterol then was 252. So still high, but my LDL was 184. So yes, technically still high, but much, much lower, 140 points lower of total cholesterol. My triglycerides were 90 and my HDL was 52. All right, so that was in August. I felt better. And this is when I had the CAC. And so I went in for the CAT scan, for the calcium artery CAT scan, and they hooked me up. I got the results within like 2 days. It was really fast. And my score was 0. No plaque buildup. And I am of an age that I would have it. I'm 48. So if I was going to have it, I would have already, started to show signs of that. So 0. And I felt even more validated, because, my total cholesterol was lower, my calcium artery score was 0, my CAC was 0. Okay, fine, great. November and the last few months, I've had some issues, and like the end of the 2023, I have been having some hormonal issues with my thyroid and with my female hormones. So in January of this year, since it had been a full year of eating carnivore, standard carnivore, proper human diet for me, which is mostly beef, butter, bacon, eggs, a little bit of dairy, not a lot of dairy, and chicken, some tuna, occasionally, not a lot of fish. I can have some sensitivity to that. And I thought, okay, now I want to see what's happened, you know. So I did mostly just the basic CMP again, or just basic tests that you get annually at your doctor. And so at the end of January, I had a CBC done again. Nothing of note. Everything was optimal again. My CMP, complete metabolic panel, same. Nothing was too high or too low. My glucose at that time, fasting glucose, was 93. So I just sit a little bit in the 90s for my fasting glucose, which is blood sugar. My EGFR was 107, which is kidneys. Again, all my kidneys, my sodium, potassium, chloride, all of it, it's beautiful. It's great. My liver function is great. I had all of these things. My insulin, my fasting insulin at the time, 6.1. So, higher than it was in May. Is that because of the fasting? I don't know. But still optimum. It's great. It's great for me. I did have some sex hormones done, and it shows that I am in perimenopause, which explains some of the symptoms I was having, because my thyroid is in an optimum range for me. So we talked about that a little bit. My B12, my vitamin B12, for some reason I wanted to get that done. It was 882. I've never had that done, but I wanted to see what my B vitamins were, and 882. And the high end of that range is 1245. So that was, that was good. My magnesium is really good. I do take a nightly magnesium to help with sleep, because I was having some interruptions with my sleep because of my perimenopause. I want to know about, I'm sure, and I thought, okay, let's see, what's this lipid panel going to show? Yeah. All right, so my lipid panel at the end of January, my total cholesterol, 369. Right back up there. Right back up there. And my LDL, 294. So it's shifted back up. But my HDL, my good cholesterol, HDL, is 68. And my triglycerides are 63. So when I went in to talk to my nurse practitioner, she was like, yeah, this is high. She said, but, considering, this is all your hormones and what they're doing, I don't see, a problem. She did not tell me that she wanted me to take any medication. She did ask me, what was going on, what was I doing? Because that's another thing, I've lost over 30 pounds. So do you think I need to have, a calcium or another scan? How often do you have it? She said, really, you don't need to do that more than once every 1 to 2 years. And she's like, I don't really think you need to. I could get another one because of that hypercholesterolemia that I have with my, overall total cholesterol number, but I feel great. I'm not suffering from any kind of metabolic syndrome. I don't have high blood pressure. It was like 112/67. My height to waist ratio is 0.5. My HDL is in range. It's in a good range. My triglycerides are within range. They're not high. And my A1C doesn't really shift. It's 5.5. The lower one, the other time it was 5.4. I don't have, that's all 5 markers that are within optimum range. I don't have metabolic syndrome. I'm not having any kind of symptoms. So I'm going to keep going. Yeah, so that's my number. Those are my numbers. I do wonder if I'm an LMHR now, which I can't even believe that. So, but I don't know. The other part of it is it doesn't really matter. I feel great. I am healthy. I don't have brain fog anymore. I don't have trouble with crippling anxiety. I can walk and run. I don't have pain. I don't have, bloating and gas. I'm functioning great. And I'm in the middle of my life, and I'm happy to be doing this. I'm not sad that I'm not eating, a lot of junk food or sweets. I broke my addiction to food and I'm living my best life. So those are the lab tests. Those are the results. I'm ready for your comments, snarky comments. I'm sure I'm going to get those, but it's all good. I'm happy. All right. Thanks for watching. Bye.